Hey, welcome back to the Real Heroes Show. In today's episode, we are going to be previewing episode 5 of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We are going to be talking about some potential spoilers and rumors. So if you don't want to have any inkling as to what's going to happen in this episode, please go ahead and come back and see us after that episode airs this Friday. I'm Cory, and as always, I have Kevin with me. Kevin, how are you this evening?
Doing well, buddy. How are you?
The hype train is rolling out of the station, my friend. I'm getting ready. I like speculating responsibly.
We learned our lesson, didn't we?
You're goddamn right we did. So there's been a lot of stuff on the internet. We've heard some stuff that might be concrete, some stuff that might not be. Someone who's a pretty accurate source has said that this episode is going to be 61 minutes in length, including the credits, which would make it the longest Marvel or Star Wars episode that Disney Plus has put on. So that would be pretty cool. We don't know what the title of this episode is yet because Disney Plus doesn't really drop those until the day of. But we have gotten a lot
which
of
I appreciate, by the way.
Yeah, it's always part of the excitement, right? Of like getting on Disney Plus that morning and be like, oh man, what's it going to be called?
Absolutely.
What's the thumbnail going to be that doesn't give away anything?
and try not to read the description before you can press play.
You kind of like do this while you're clicking the TV.
yeah.
I love it.
But every once in a while you get a title like The Jedi and you're just like,
I know what that means. Oh man. Yeah. So we've gotten some information from some of the creators of this show themselves, particularly Malcolm Spellman, who's the head writer for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So he's done some interviews specifically regarding this episode, where he has said that this one's going to make people cry, which is fascinating. But there's a special character that's going to pop up in this episode that we don't know who he or she is quite yet. This character is apparently very grounded. They have a strong personality. Malcolm said that he would like to see them team up with Thor. It's been confirmed that this character is not T'Challa, the Black Panther. They made that very clear that they're not putting Chadwick Boseman in anything in the future. This character has never been seen in the MCU before, which opens up a couple interesting doors. The character is also not likely to appear in any upcoming films, so this isn't a setup for a future movie. It is an existing Marvel Comics character. They weren't just created for the show. Most interestingly, though, it is being played by a very well-known performer who is an Oscar type from what we can gather, which is pretty interesting. Charles Murphy, who's a very well-known scooper on the internet, he said he knows who the actor is, but not the character they're playing. But he does know that it's not the Power Broker, so it will be somebody different from that. It's someone that they said you'd never guess would work in the MCU. So there's a lot going on here, and at first you're like, oh, mystery character, it's Wolverine, and you want to hype up and go crazy, but you start getting the rest of these little clues, and it's kind of like Edward Nygma is setting up a riddle for us to figure out who this character is going to be. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, because I literally have no freaking clue who this person's going to be. So fire away and let's speculate responsibly.
So there's a lot of scuttlebutt on the internet right now that supports a theory of mine that I've had since back into WandaVision. And obviously for different reasons, but the same character. And that character would be Victor Von Doom. And we talked about this. I think we might have mentioned it on the last episode. If not, I know we talked about it offline a little bit. But the fact that we are right now dealing with some characters who are stranded, or not stranded, but they're in Eastern Europe. We're talking about Zemo, whose fake country of Sokovia doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
Who Zemo said in the last episode, he mentioned how, or maybe 2 episodes back, he mentioned how Sokovia when everything went down after Age of Ultron, Sokovia was basically cannibalized by its neighbors and picked apart and doesn't exist anymore. Well, we also know that there's another make-believe country called Latveria who should be somewhere in the same vicinity as Sokovia and as Latvia, which is where they're all kind of hanging out right now. So it lends a lot of credence to that particular theory. I could see that going a couple of different ways. So we know the Zemo's on the run. Maybe he is looking for someone, like a safe harbor, and he knows Victor. He was a Baron before. He may know Victor. Maybe they ran in the same circles. Alternatively, maybe Victor is one of the ones that our heroes turn to help track him down, because it could be that Latveria is one of the countries that took over parts of Sokovia, because we do know that Victor had really helped Latveria turn the country around, made them into more of a power than they had been previously, and perhaps that's how. So a lot of credibility to the rumor, I think, but at the same time, I was real certain that he was going to pop up in WandaVision too. So
did you think that he was the aerospace engineer? Was that who you had pegged for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guess what? It was a nobody.
It was a nobody.
It's literally someone we'd never heard of and had about 18 seconds of screen time. So that was fun. And your idea, I think for the most part, going down this list, it checks most of the boxes. I mean, Victor, obviously, he gains powers later on, but this could be pre-space incident Victor. Obviously, a very strong personality. Not seen in the MCU before, an existing Marvel Comics character, could be played by a well-known performer. Which, do you have anybody in mind as to who you'd fan cast for that role?
I've had a couple of ideas, and they're all escaping me. They all just flew right out of my head.
Didn't you say Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders?
Cillian Murphy would be fantastic in that role. I actually really thought that Tom Hardy would be good in it, except that he's doing the whole Venom thing, so I'm not sure how that would work out. Yeah. And then, I think you could go a little bit older with it too, and go with what's his name? Breaking Bad.
Bryan Cranston.
Okay,
yeah, I'd be all for it. I think I said on one of our WandaVision episodes that I just want Cranston in the MCU somehow, and watching him on Malcolm in the Middle is not enough.
Yeah, that voice behind the metal mask. Come on.
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that would be pretty badass. But again, they said somebody that you wouldn't expect to see in the MCU, but it's hard to say that, I feel, because there's some stellar, top-notch actors. They've had Anthony Hopkins, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch. This is not the type of shit that he did before he got pulled into the MCU.
That is true. Yeah.
Classically trained actors. For that matter, Paul Bettany. These are people, high caliber actors who maybe you would or would not, expect to see them, but they're there. So it kind of that shifts that focus a little bit. It's like, well, who wouldn't do it now? Yeah.
Right. Talent is one thing, but when the money truck gets backed up to your driveway,
exactly.
These people have a tendency to listen because they like to have jobs.
Yeah. And then, there's some people like Affleck, who said that he basically did it to make his kids happy.
Yeah.
So that he could be Batman to his kids, So, there's no telling who it could be. I think you had some good ideas, character notwithstanding. You had some good ideas as far as actors go.
So yeah, my brain immediately went to actresses for some reason when they said it was somebody you wouldn't expect to be in the MCU, because I don't know why, but my male brain just tends to go straight to, oh, well, boys like to play with their toys and be in big shoot 'em up Marvel movies. So we had talked offline about Meryl Streep or Helen Mirren or Judi Dench, or like, you know, just like a really like top-notch, like Oscar bait type performer. And you know,
Right.
we found out recently that Helen Mirren is going to be one of the villains in the Shazam sequel. We also found out today that Lucy Liu is going to be one of her villainous teammates in that film too. So anybody is open to doing these things. I think one of the other folks we thought was Daniel Day-Lewis. Like if he showed up in the MCU,
That's
that
like dream team.
Yeah, that would just blow everybody's mind. I have no idea who he would play.
Victor Von Doom.
or maybe like a Norman Osborn played by Daniel Day-Lewis. That would
Well, I mean, look, if they are setting up the Fantastic Four, and they are eventually bringing the Fantastic Four in, right? Victor Von Doom, or Doctor Doom, one of the greatest villains of all of comic bookdom, right? And I don't see him having a small story arc. I see Doctor Doom being along the lines of Thanos, being there for a while.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you gotta have a big gun to pull it off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and so I mean, I seriously doubt Daniel Day-Lewis would do anything like that, but holy shit.
Has he retired? I don't even know.
I think he's said it multiple times, but
yeah, but then he always comes back when he finds something he can sink his teeth into. So who knows? I had an idea earlier today that in the same vein that WandaVision ended up doing Paul Bettany versus Paul Bettany, it could be Sebastian Stan, but he's Luke Skywalker. that conversation would be very interesting.
Well, that would make it happy on levels.
He'd start sweating, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know though, man. It's a tricky one. The internet can't seem to figure it out. You know, because all these criteria that keep coming out. I don't know. It's a really tricky one, but thankfully there's only a couple days to wait until we find out.
Yeah. So I'm stoked about that. I mean, I think there's also the distinct possibility they could be introducing the Thunderbolts. So there's, you know, I really want them to introduce mutants. So if there's some way that they could drop, oh man, I'm all like, with the brain farts today.
Moira or Mystique.
Moira.
Or someone.
Yeah. If they could drop her, or Mystique, like we talked about before, Mystique was already removed from the Madripoor website, or at least a reference to her.
Yeah.
So at least in the minds of Kevin Feige and company, she exists there.
True.
As does Wolverine's son, who also got removed from that website. And
yep.
So, I mean, yeah, the door is wide open at this point. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting if they pulled in somebody like Mystique, and then just kept Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. I mean, we got real close with Evan Peters as a crossover from that universe. So, I think I heard somebody else brought up Goldie Hawn because she's Wyatt Russell's mom, and Wyatt is John Walker, and his dad is Kurt Russell, who was Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So they figured,
just round it out.
Shit, why not just bring the whole family into it? But I don't know. I mean, I feel like the list of people you'd never expect to see in the MCU is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, I mean, that's was my point before.
Owen Wilson is in the MCU now. Like, that's somebody you never thought would happen, right?
Yeah.
You keep seeing more and more of that, and you just the bets are off at this point. But you know, thankfully, like I said, we don't have long to wait. And if Malcolm Spellman is correct, this episode is going to make us cry nerd tears. So I don't know about you, but I'm personally trying not to get too excited about this one before Friday gets here.
It's tough to not get hyped when the writer tells you that.
I know.
And it's also a mystery right now as to whether those are going to be sad tears or happy tears or tears of excitement, or, you know, are we losing a character? Because that's distinctly possible. We already lost Battlestar last episode, which kind of thought we were going to see more of him. Had his little Ned Stark moment. But, you know, I just don't know, because I cried nerd tears when I saw Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. So
True. Yeah. So it could be happy, or it could be like, this is the most awful thing I've ever seen because it's tearing my guts out. So,
and I would hate. There's part of me that thinks that perhaps this special guest and the whole crying are not related.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because what if they have to explain at some point what happened to T'Challa?
Yeah, and there has
I know
been Wakandan tie-ins.
Said they're not going to put him in there, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't talk about him.
True, that is true.
You know, and you talk about a tearjerker. I mean, that would be.
Yeah, when I think tearjerker from characters that already exist, however they're going to handle Chad dying is going to be one of them. The other thing I thought of is, like, they set up a seed at the beginning of this show about where Old Man Cap is.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Evans is always down to play ball with Marvel, so he could put on the face paint and look like Joe Biden for another 10-minute cameo, you know. And
I mean,
who knows?
What if we get Steve Rogers and Isaiah Bradley, you know, all teaming up to try to bring down John Walker?
Or if that's what it takes to get Sam to accept that the shield should be his.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this episode that we just watched, episode 4, it really, really cements the idea that Sam is the rightful successor to the shield.
Oh, 100%.
And probably the future captain of the Avengers, I would say.
Yeah.
So, who knows? I'm getting hyped just thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The train's rolling out of the station. Choo-choo, motherfuckers. Let's go. It's getting there.
We say it all the time, but what a time to be alive, man.
I know. We're so spoiled. It's horrible. Every week, man. It's literally like there's new stuff to talk about every single week. And this is just like, I know there are people online who are like, oh no, not another cameo to hype and speculate over. But it's like, this is just going to become the norm, you know? Like,
and it's great. Who cares?
What's the cliffhanger going to be? Who's the big special character? Who's all that? It's all just in good fun.
When they say shit like that, it gives us stuff to look forward to. So
absolutely, 100%.
I love it.
I'm super stoked for it, but we would love to hear what you guys have to say.
Absolutely.
You know, as of when this video comes out, there should be about another 2 or 3 days before this episode airs. So let us know your guesses. Who do you think it's going to be? Is it an Oscar-winning performer that we wouldn't expect to see, a true thespian of the sort? You know, drop us that comment below and let us know what you think. If you guys are new here, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We've had a ton of new subscribers lately, which is amazing. Thank you so much for clicking that button. You know, we love to have more people on board and hear all the weird things that swirl around in our brains get to somebody else's ears for a change. So so go ahead, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so that you never miss another video. Like this video while you're at it. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.